The 250 silly season is getting started quite early this year. Hey, this is Michael Lindsay from Vinyl MX, and welcome back to another episode of Rumormill, brought to you by our friends at Yoshimura R&D of America. Check them out at yoshimura-rd.com. And welcome back to another season of Rumormill. If you've never checked these out before, Rumormill is a video series we do based on the happenings, the comings, and the talkings throughout the pits, from the mechanics to the riders to the agents to the team managers to other industry people we talk to as media. These are storylines that, of course, are not confirmed and announced yet, but these are things that are likely enough to happen, or at least are having a large effect on negotiations that are making the upcoming season, in this case 2024, quite interesting to talk about. So this episode particularly is about Levi Kitchen, but also the 250 class a little bit as a whole, at least where we stand at the early part of silly season. So, of course, getting into it, the reason we are speaking about Kitchen in this episode is he is one of a few 250 riders that is going to be well sought after entering new contract time. Yes, his deal is up with the Monster Energy Yamaha Star Racing 250 squad. We actually believe he is the only rider on the team that has a contract that's up. It seems like everybody else there is locked down. We know Gilliam Ferris, Jordan Smith is good, Styles Robertson is good. We believe Thrasher is either good or currently working on a re-signing. Justin Cooper would be going 450. Hayden Deegan's good, and then they're working on whatever they're going to do with Daxton Bennick. So Levi is kind of the only man that we know of that has the option to maybe look elsewhere. And again, Levi's got a lot of interest behind him. He got his first win so far in Supercross this year, and there's definitely teams looking at him. So let's talk about some of those suitors, or at least some of the teams that have openings. From what we're aware, Rockstar Energy Husqvarna will have a 250 spot, we believe, open for next year. We think the Red Bull Troy Lee Designs Gas team is also in that boat. Red Bull KTM looks to be looking at somebody, and that's where we're going to really talk about Levi here in a second. Pro Circuit probably has an opening or two that they have not filled yet. And then there are the up-and-comer teams such as like Club MX, Phoenix Racing, which we will get into, that all maybe want to throw their hat in the ring. So starting off, the main rumor we've heard is that Levi Kitchen currently has received an offer from the Red Bull KTM squad to put him alongside Tom Vialle. What does that mean for Max Volan? We'll get to that in a second. So at the moment, it definitely seems like Red Bull KTM is the strongest suitor for Levi. They've made him a multi-year offer. And something that is unique with that situation with Red Bull KTM that has to be considered when it comes to contracts is not only the money that a factory OEM can offer for salary, but as well, Red Bull KTM is one of two places in the 250 class that you can do your own gear deals, which can be quite financially beneficial to a rider in that class. So in this case, naturally, like any big team, Star Racing is going to have first rider refusal on Levi, but this likely means that they would have to match not only the salary offer that Red Bull KTM will be putting together, but also the offers he has on gear deals, since the Star Racing squad is Thor, Alpine Stars, 100%, certain things like that for the riders. They're locked into that. The riders cannot get their own deals. They do not get individual money typically from those brands. That is a team deal. In this case, though, he'd be able to go after his own contracts. And if we had to take a guess, a salary for somebody of Levi's situation from a team, at this point, he's probably worth somewhere between 150 to 200, maybe a little north of that. So we expect that the offer is somewhere within that range. And then combined gear deal, helmet, goggles, he could be another 150 to 200 with just that. So he may be looking at a total cap of around 400 grand in salary, which again, for a team that has gear deals tied into it like Star, Pro Circuit, the Rockstar Husky guys with Fly, this makes it a little bit tough to go into bid against that. The actual salary offer itself, again, somewhere that 150, 200 range might not be that tough of a sell for some of these teams. Definitely a Monster Energy, Pro Circuit, Kawasaki. Kawasaki could step in and do that. Husky guys, all that. But again, makes it a little tough. So what would happen at this point? Again, Star has first right refusal. They could choose to match the offer, retain his services, or if they let it go, what other options could be out there? Again, we mentioned there is one other team that allows for gear deals, and that is Team Honda HRC, as we've seen with the Lawrences and Chance Hymas. However, from all the communication we've received information, it doesn't look like Honda is potentially going to hire 250 riders after Hymas. Hymas is kind of their last HRC kid, at least at the moment. And the future focus is to convert the Phoenix Honda Racing Squad, which is Honda's official program in Arena Cross and GNCC, and they're a big support team on East Coast Supercross Outdoors, into more of that official effort like we saw with Factory Connection Honda back in the day. So we're going to see them over the next couple years start to put more support into those guys and start to build them up into that official entry. We actually think that the year 2025 is a big goal year. So it is a little bit early here, but we think they might be a team that could be in a position to potentially make that offer. Somebody like them needs to grow and put their foot forward. It is a big ask to go after it, but if Honda wants to step up, we think there's a potential there. We don't think it would be in-house a Honda, but we think there is an opportunity to start moving that support and direction. Same thing with a team like Club MX. They could be somebody who would be interested in this if they want to give Levi a little bit different environment, but the state of their support from Yamaha is not like maybe, as we mentioned with Phoenix Honda, we don't know how much financial support there is to get into that. They also have a gear deal. So it gets really tough. As an individual team, again, you'd have to match that combined offer to at least financially come up to even with them. Moving on into a little bit again, that 250 class is if Levi did choose to go to Red Bull KTM and take up their offer, what does that mean for Maximus Volin? Well, Volin's contract is up at the end of 23. He's been on a 3-year contract. This is the final year of those terms. And we believe the Austrian manufacturer is interested in keeping him, but we also know that that group in total between Husqvarna, Gas, and KTM, theoretically, they would like to be 2 450s, 2 250s per team. Hasn't quite worked out that way, but they've been getting closer each year as they've trimmed and moved stuff around. They could very easily move Max into one of their other 2 teams. Again, Rockstar Energy Husqvarna looks like they will have a spot with Jalik Swoll leaving. We'll get into that in a future episode about where he will likely end up. So they do need somebody to go alongside RJ Hampshire, who is currently got an offer on the table, but is actually also not signed for next year. And then there's also potential for TLD Gas, the Red Bull Gas factory program for the 250s. They have Pierce Brown under contract for 24, but Moseman is also only through the end of 23, and the season is not going well. We could see a potential to move Max to one of those 2 programs if they still want to keep working with him. However, the bummer for Max would be losing that individual gear deal because, again, he currently works with Fox and Scott as his individual deals, but by moving to Rockstar Energy Husqvarna or to the TLD group, he would have to take on the team's gear deals, and that would be a little bit of a financial penalty compared to what he is used to now. One other little note with the Red Bull KTM squad we found is interesting is one other rider we heard that they have made at least some level of contact with might have been Joe Shimoda, who currently his contract is up at Kawasaki. We believe that he intends to stay put, but is also exploring his options. Joe, like Levi, is probably, I would say the 2 of them are the 2 most interesting moves that potentially could happen this 250 off season for teams looking to readjust their rosters and potentially get into those winning conversations a little bit more. Joe, of course, has a bit more experience than Levi, but either way, both of them are very interesting for teams to be talking about at the moment. As we said, this is the first rumor mill we've kind of done this year, so there is a lot of stuff interesting coming up between these teams. We're getting early into conversations, into negotiations, and particularly the 450 class actually has a ton of movement coming up, which we will get into with next week's episode, as pretty much every major title contender and winner and anybody that's got real results in that class is looking for a contract for 2024. If you like this feature, make sure you give us a thumbs up, like, and subscribe. Would really appreciate it. Also, check out our website at vinylmx.com and make sure you stay tuned for more rumor mills to know what is going on and is the latest in the motorcycle industry.